Imagine Joe. Joe is a good caveman. He wakes up when the giant yellow rock in the sky climbs over the mountain, and he goes back to his stone bed when the sky turns dark and leaky. Joe works hard. He spends all day climbing trees, fighting off angry monkeys, and dodging the occasional itchy snake just to get a bunch of bananas. For a long time, Joe's life was simple. One day of sweat equaled one big pile of yellow fruit. If Joe had 10 bananas, he felt like the king of the valley. He could trade 2 bananas for a new spear, 3 bananas for a warm mammoth fur, and still have enough left to throw a party for the neighbor's cave dog. But lately, something feels thin. Joe looks at his pile of 10 bananas. They look like bananas. They smell like bananas. But when he goes to trade with the spearmaker shakes his head. See, the spearmaker wants 20 bananas now. Joe is confused. He hasn't changed. The trees haven't changed. The monkeys are still just as angry. So why is Joe's hard work suddenly worth half as much? Joe doesn't know it yet, but he is being haunted by a ghost he cannot see. A ghost made of smoke and tribal decrees. To understand Joe's pain, we must look up. High up the mountain, in the biggest, driest cave, sits the Fat Chief. The Fat Chief doesn't hunt. He doesn't climb trees. He doesn't even dodge snakes. He spends his days staring into a massive stone bowl filled with strange green leaves and ancient moss. This is the ritual of the magic smoke. You see, the Fat Chief has a problem. He wants to build a bigger cave. He wants to throw bigger parties. He wants to give more berries to his friends, the spearmakers and the cave painters. Oh, but the chief doesn't want to go out and pick those berries himself. That's far too much work for a man with so many gold necklaces. So the chief uses his magic. He lights the bowl, and a thick, sweet-smelling green smoke begins to drift down into the valley. In the old days, there was only a little bit of smoke. Life was clear. But now the chief wants more. He fans the flames. He adds more moss. The smoke becomes a fog. This smoke represents the magic leaves the chief gives out to everyone. He tells the tribe, "Look, more leaves for everyone. Everyone is rich." But the elder, watching from the shadows, knows the truth. The more smoke there is in the air, the harder it is to see the actual bananas. The chief is printing more promises than the forest has fruit. When the valley is filled with the chief's green smoke, strange things happen to the minds of cavemen. Because everyone has more magic leaves in their loincloths, they all rush to the forest at once. They all want the same spears. They all want the same mammoth furs. The spearmaker isn't stupid. He sees 20 hunters waving leaves at him, all wanting his last sharpened stick. He doesn't work faster, he just raises the price. Suddenly, the price of a spear isn't based on how hard it was to make, but on how much smoke is clogging everyone's brain. This is the great blur. Joe thinks he is getting richer because the chief gave him a few extra leaves for his loyalty. But when Joe tries to buy his lunch, he realizes the leaves are just leaves. You can't eat them. You can't hunt with them. They are just a trick of the light and the wind. Now, the chief has mastered the art of making the tribe feel wealthy while he quietly takes the best parts of the mammoth for himself, using the smoke as a screen. But wait. Sometimes the smoke gets so thick that the hunters start fighting. They stop hunting altogether and just spend all day trading leaves for other leaves. The valley becomes a mess of screaming and confusion. The Fat Chief looks down and sees the chaos. He realizes if the valley burns down, he won't have anyone to pick his real berries. So he reaches for his most feared tool, the heavy interest stick. The chief stands at the edge of his cave and shouts, "From now on, if you want to borrow a spear to go hunting, you must give me back 2 spears next moon." This is the chief's way of clearing the air, by making it painful to borrow tools. He forces the hunters to stop trading and start worrying. Suddenly, there are fewer leaves moving around. The smoke begins to thin. The hunters who were lazy and living off the chief's magic leaves start to starve. The party is over. The chief calls this stabilizing the valley. Joe calls it the time I lost my cave because I couldn't pay back my banana debt. It is a brutal cycle of thick smoke and heavy sticks. And the Fat Chief is the only one who knows when the wind will change. Behind the smoke, there is a smaller, more persistent villain, the inflation squirrels. These little beasts follow the chief's smoke. Every time the chief fans the fire, the squirrels get bolder. They sneak into Joe's cave while he is sleeping. They don't take all his bananas, that would be too obvious. Instead, they take a tiny bite out of every single one. Just one bite. When Joe wakes up, he still sees 10 bananas. But they are smaller, they are lighter, they are less filling. This is the hidden tax of the chief's magic. The chief doesn't have to come to your cave and take your fruit by force. He just lets the squirrels of the smoke nibble away at the value of your work. Over many moons, Joe's life savings, the pile of fruit he worked his whole life for, becomes a pile of tiny, half-eaten scraps. The squirrels are well fed, the chief's cave is huge, and Joe is left wondering why he's so hungry even though his account says he's a billionaire in magic leaves. In the middle of the smoke, the fat chief's best friends, the village elders of the Borrow Cave, the bankers, offered Joe a deal. Joe, they say, their voices as smooth as river stones, don't worry about the squirrels. Don't worry about the smoke. If you want that giant new cave with the waterfall view right now, we will give you all the magic leaves you need. Just sign this piece of bark. Joe is excited. He doesn't have to wait. He doesn't have to hunt. He gets the cave today. But the bark says Joe must work for the Borrow Cave for the next 30 years. He has traded his future sweat for the chief's current smoke. Now Joe is a slave to the cycle. If the chief raises the heavy interest stick, Joe's payments become more expensive. If the chief blows more smoke, Joe's work becomes worth less. Joe is caught in a trap designed by people who never swing a club or sharpen a stone. He is living in a dream built on a foundation of green mist. The elder, who has lived through many winters and many chiefs, sits by his own small, clear fire. He doesn't trust the magic leaves. He doesn't listen to the smooth words of the Borrow Cave. The elder knows that in the end, the only things that matter are the things you can hold, the things you can eat, and the things that don't disappear when the chief stops fanning the flames. The elder keeps his wealth in hard rocks, real assets. He keeps a few shiny crystals, a few good spears, and a hidden patch of fertile berry bushes that no one else knows about. When the smoke is thick, the elder stays quiet. When the heavy stick comes down and everyone else is screaming in the dark, the elder uses his crystals to buy the best caves from the panicked hunters for a fraction of their value. He understands that monetary policy is just a fancy way of saying the chief is playing with the air. To survive, you must look past the air and find the ground. The sun begins to set on our valley. Joe is sitting in his cave, looking at a handful of brown, mushy bananas and a pile of useless green leaves. He is tired. He is frustrated. But today, he saw the elder. He heard the truth about the smoke. Joe realizes that he cannot change the chief. He cannot stop the squirrels, but he can change how he hunts. He can stop borrowing spears he can't afford. He can start trading his leaves for things that the smoke cannot touch. He decides that tomorrow he will not just hunt for the chief's favor. He will hunt for his own freedom. The valley will always have smoke, and the chiefs will always have their magic bowls. But a caveman who understands the trick is a caveman who can never truly be hungry. Don't be a Joe who drowns in the fog. Be the hunter who waits for the air to clear, spear in hand, ready for the real mammoth. The magic of the smoke is powerful because it relies on you believing it is real. The moment you realize it is just burnt moss and chiefly ego, the power fades. Watch the mountain, watch the bowl. When the smoke gets too sweet, run for the high ground. When the heavy stick starts swinging, don't be the one caught with a cave full of debt. The elder has spoken. The fire is dying. Go back to your caves, hold your real bananas tight, and remember, wealth isn't what the chief says it is. Wealth is what stays with you after the smoke blows away. Now get out of here before the squirrels find your stash.